Hello again, baseball fans. It's Mitch Gatzke. Great to be back with you here for Ducks on the Pod, episode number 12. Coming back from a 2-week break. Went through a bit of a voice issue. Not a great thing for a podcaster, but we're back now and have just some announcements, a little housekeeping to do before we get into things here.
Housekeeping!
And before I say anything else, I think congratulations are in order. Albert Pujols became the 9th man ever to hit 600 Major League home runs and cement himself as an all-time great in the sport. There really was no hype, no build-up, no spotlight. There was hardly any coverage and an amazingly low level of excitement for this, an accomplishment that once was thought to be the greatest individual accomplishment in American sports. Albert Pujols is almost being disrespected here because the focus has not been on his pursuit of this historic benchmark, but rather the fact that Mike Trout has been missing from the Angels lineup. That's really been the story of Pujols' career, though. Consistently excellent, yet for some reason always in the background. At 600, Pujols is the active leader in home runs. Second is Miguel Cabrera with 451. Just thinking about that difference in numbers is kind of mind-blowing to me, just how far ahead Pujols is of everybody else in the sport right now in terms of home runs. When you look at his numbers, his accomplishments, you're looking at the numbers and accomplishments of a first-ballot Hall of Famer. When you talk about Albert Pujols, you're speaking on arguably the greatest right-handed hitter of all time. By the time he's done, there may not be an argument to be had. While he's 37 and it's a bit of a stretch to have him play first at this point, he is still a feared bat to have in the lineup. Over the past 3 seasons, he's averaged 33 and 106. His brute strength is going to decrease as he transitions from his mid to late 30s. That happens to everyone. The difference for Pujols in the latter stage of his career is going to be the hitting instincts that he's shown ever since entering the league in 2001. This doesn't happen to everyone. For every Ryan Howard that inexplicably loses his ability to hit, there's a David Ortiz who looks like he could continue raking into his 50s. In Pujols, I see a guy who's always going to be able to hit, so long as he's healthy. I see a guy who's a lock to surpass Griffey's 630 and likely going to pass Willie Mays at 660. I see a guy who's got an outside shot at jumping A-Rod and hurtling into the 700 club with Bonds, Aaron, and Ruth. I just hope we're all actually watching when he does. So next announcement, I'm headed out to Boston this week for my second trip to Fenway Park. Well, second, third, and fourth trip technically. The Tigers are visiting the Sox for a 3-game set this weekend, and I'll be there for all 3. My first trip out there was when I was about 12, so I'm really looking forward to actually exploring on my own this time. Flight leaves late Wednesday, games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. Keep an eye out for me on the Sunday night broadcast on ESPN. And follow along through the Ducks on the Pod Twitter and Facebook pages all weekend. I'll be updating those just as frequently as I can. Mostly, though, as much as I love baseball, I can't lie. The thing that I'm most looking forward to is the seafood. Oh, man. Lobster bisque, clam chowder, crab rolls, oysters. Whew! I'm salivating just thinking about it. I can't wait. So, yeah, stay tuned for more on that trip next week. I'll tell you all about it. An update on Ducks on the Pod merchandise. I just sent out the last t-shirt today. Thanks to all of you who have requested one. I appreciate your help in spreading the word about our show here. If you didn't get a chance to get a shirt, don't worry. I will be ordering a second batch at some point this summer. Stay tuned for more details on that as well. And let us know if you'd like to reserve a shirt for that future order. In the meantime, ask for a sticker pack because I've got more stickers than one man should have. They've got our soon-to-be world-famous logo on them. They're a good size to fit in your pocket so you can go mobile and plaster them all over the place. I've been sticking them just about everywhere in the right field sections of Comerica Park, and I'm told there are at least 2 somewhere inside Great American Ballpark. Please send pics to our social media channels if you find one anywhere, and feel encouraged to ask for a set of your own so that you can join in on the fun as well. I think that's about all the announcements I've got. It's a little bit late for a starting lineup, so why don't we just kick it over to Ham Porter. What time is it, Ham? Baseball fans, it's almost time for the College World Series. Super Regionals take place this weekend. More of us should be tuning in than will be, and I think that's because we don't know really what we're watching or what to watch for. We don't know how to enjoy college baseball. Taking a look at our relationship with college basketball, I think helps to illustrate my point here. Many people's biggest beef with March Madness is that no one really knows who most of the teams are because we don't watch the regular season. Well, baseball has many more games and much, much less coverage, almost no coverage on ESPN for you to stumble upon as you watch SportsCenter. Generally speaking, we have zero idea what's going on in the college baseball world until mid-June. Then all of a sudden, we're supposed to care deeply about the 8 teams that have made it to the College World Series, which is hosted in Omaha, Nebraska, by the way. Not that it's not a nice place. I've never been there myself, but I've heard nice things. It's just not what you'd exactly call a vacation destination. And that fact, however driven by perception it may be, exists all the same and does not do the College World Series any favors with potential casual fans. So here's how it works. I just want to shed a little light on what's going on, maybe to drum up a little bit of interest and kind of break down that unfamiliar wall that we seem to have with college baseball. So a breakdown of the tournament itself. Regionals are the first round. It happened last weekend. 64 teams broken into 16 groups of 4. They play double elimination until one team is left standing in each region. That brings us to where we are now, the Super Regionals. There are 16 teams remaining. They are broken up into 8 pairs, and now it's a best-of-3 series starting this Friday. You went twice, and you've made it to Omaha in the College World Series. Now, once there, the 8 teams play a double elimination again until there are 2 teams left, and then those 2 play a best-of-3 championship series to determine the winner of the College World Series. Taking a look at some of the teams that are left here, Oregon State is the prohibitive favorite with an outstanding 52-4 record this season. Vanderbilt is the unlucky team that will face the Beavers. The Commodores beat number 21 Clemson twice on its own field to win the regional last week and earn this spot. Oregon State's lefty Luke Heimlich has a chance at being selected in the first round of this summer's Major League Baseball draft. He's one of the many players to keep your eye on this weekend as you watch these games. The only team hosting a super regional that did not host a regional is Texas A&M. And to earn that distinction, the Aggies triumphed over that Baptist school in Waco, Texas, Iowa, and the host Houston Cougars. College Station will now play host to the Super Regional because Davidson took down the number 2 team in the nation, that is North Carolina, twice last week to get here. If you're looking for a Cinderella, you found her. It is most definitely Davidson. Moving along, number 9 Long Beach State and number 20 Cal State Fullerton square off to determine which school will represent the state of California in Omaha. Fullerton beat their host, number 8 Stanford, twice to advance from regionals, and the team affectionately known as the Dirtbags holds a 5-1 record in 2 series against Fullerton this season. Another big rivalry, Louisville hosts Kentucky in an even bigger matchup with the number 7 and number 11 teams in the latest D1Baseball.com Top 25. This is probably the most intriguing series, at least on paper, heading into the weekend. The Cards and the Cats split a pair of separate meetings during the regular season, and Louisville lefty Brendan McKay is the consensus number 2 draft prospect coming up this summer. You're definitely going to want to see him while you can on the national spotlight. Sam Houston State took the long route to the Super Regionals, having played 5 games in the previous round. With their backs against the wall, the Bearcats won 3 straight games in 2 days, including 2 over host Texas Tech, to earn this spot. Their reward is a shot at number 16 Florida State, which rebounded from losing their first game in their regional last week. Number 6 TCU really had no trouble sweeping through its regional. The Horned Frogs will play host to the number 22 Bears of Missouri State, who snuck by Arkansas, winning 2 of 3 one-run games last weekend. Missouri State third baseman Jake Berger has scouts excited about his future. Next up, it's an SEC affair with number 17 Mississippi State traveling to number 3 LSU. The Tigers won their 3 games by a combined 18 runs, while the Bulldogs beat their in-state rival number 10 Southern Miss twice on Monday. LSU's Alex Lang is another top prospect to look out for. And if you pay attention to such things, you'll notice that 6 of the 16 teams left are members of the SEC. It must just mean more down there or something, right? Anyway, that 6th SEC representative is Florida. The number 4 Gators welcome in number 14 Wake Forest. Florida's 6'5 pitcher Alex Fado, at least I think that's how you pronounce his name, has been getting a lot of mention as a potential top 10 pick. You're going to want to see him start this weekend as well. So there you have it. A little bit of info that will hopefully spark your interest to get you to check out some of these games. The best part is they're going on all weekend long with start times of noon, 3, 6, and 9. You'll have at least one game to watch basically all day long for 3 days straight. And Saturday's even better with 2 games in each of those 4 time slots. And if any of these series are tied after 2 games, we get even more games on Sunday and Monday. Check it out. Get ready for the College World Series. And yeah, just stop being so afraid of college baseball. It's time for an update on the Ducks on the Pod 2017 All-Star Game ballot. We're up to version 6.0 as we revise our selections each week. And there was an AL update posted today. Check out those real numbers. But let me get into my selections and tell you why. Starting off at first base in the American League, Yonder Alonso has exploded this season. He hasn't hit with this much power since his junior year at Miami in 2008. Hell, he hasn't hit with really any power since becoming a pro that summer. He's always been good at getting on base, but coming into this year, he only had 39 homers in 2,103 at-bats. This season, he's got 16 through 148. You think about it this way, in the first 7 years of his career, he went deep once every 54 at-bats. And here in year 8, he's leaving the yard once every 9 1/4 at-bats. Yonder Alonso has been a good player for a long time now, but he's never been this good. Now that he is, I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity and get him into the All-Star game. He's worthy. Over in the National League, I want to pick Paul Goldschmidt, who's the best combination of power and speed in the game right now. But Ryan Zimmerman has followed up his incredible April with a solid May, and he just can't be dethroned quite yet. He'll hang on to the spot for now. Over at second base, I'm sticking with Starlin Castro. I gave you the reasons why I've become a fan of this guy when I unveiled version 1. He's still hitting, and I'm still pulling for him, even though this means snubbing Jose Altuve. The National League counterpart, all Daniel Murphy does nowadays is hit. His transformation, which started with him homering in 6 straight games in the 2015 NLDS and NLCS, is unlike anything I've ever seen. I think more people should be treated to it. And honestly, Daniel Murphy makes a lot of sense to me as a pick for potential All-Star Game MVP. I'd like to see him get the opportunity. Now, I know I said that the American League shortstop gig belongs to Francisco Lindor until further notice, but I cannot ignore what Elvis Andrus is doing right now. He hit a career-high 8 dingers last year. He's already got 7 this year, and that increase in power has not come with the corresponding decrease in speed that you commonly see. In fact, Andrus is on pace to challenge another career high, 42 stolen bases. He hasn't gotten much pub, but Elvis Andrus is definitely All-Star Game worthy. In the National League, there are a lot of talented, struggling shortstops right now. One man who is not, Zach Cozart. The future former Red is another one of these guys who seemingly just figured it out lately. His batting average is currently 44 points higher than his career on-base percentage, and that's including this year, which has obviously inflated that OBP. Cozart likely won't continue this, but that's for the Reds to know and another team to find out the hard way. In the meantime, let's boost his trade value and get Zach Cozart to Miami. At the hot corner, there's no way around it. Miguel Sano needs to be an all-star. He was my pick way back in version 1, and he's remained my pick ever since. The fact is he's got the best numbers by far at the position, and he's leading the way for a surprise first-place team. I don't know what else you want. There are a handful of guys you could put at third for the NL and feel good about it, but I would like to see Jake Lamb get the nod because he's been a huge boost for the D-backs who needed someone other than Paul Goldschmidt to step up. Lamb has done that and more, parlaying his breakout 2016 campaign into what I believe is an all-star game-worthy 2017. Keeping it rolling here, the catchers are going to remain the same as they have every week. Everyone say hello to Salvador Perez and Buster Posey, 2 stars who are tragically trapped on terrible teams this year. The DH will be Corey Dickerson, who's finally given the Rays what they thought they had traded for over a year ago. They've got to send somebody, and why not Dickerson? Really, Nelson Cruz is the only one who can have a legitimate beef here. We'll sort that all out. Out to the grass now, where, if you'll remember, I'm choosing a left, center, and right fielder for each league, not simply 3 outfielders. Give me Chris with a K Davis in left field for the AL. I still really just want to see him hit in the home run derby at Marlins Park. Speaking of home run derby, I'll stick Giancarlo Stanton in left field since realistically there's no way he doesn't make the cut with his team hosting, and there's even less way you can snub Bryce Harper from starting in right field. I make the rules, I bend them. It's the All-Star game, and it's finally, rightfully, nothing more than an exhibition game. Having Stanton in left field will be just fine, I promise you. Now, my AL center fielder is not going to be Mike Trout because he's currently injured, and frankly, he doesn't need any more votes than he's already going to get. No, instead, I'll have George Springer, who may not hit for as high an average as Trout, but does everything just about as well. In the senior circuit, you have to go with Charlie Blackmon, who's kept Colorado's offense on track the whole way during this franchise best start. I don't see anybody with a good enough case to overrule Blackmon here. And Aaron Judge and Bryce Harper are going to be the right fielders. That should come as no surprise with the 2 of them leading the MVP race in their respective leagues. Go ahead and go on MLB.com, fill out your own ballot. Let me know what you think of mine, if I'm crazy, if I'm spot on. And let's start to get ready for this All-Star game coming up in just about a month and a half now. All right, baseball fans, I'm sure you've noticed by now it is June, and every team except for the Twins has played at least 54 games. That means we're already 1/3 of the way through this baseball season. And that being the case, it's time to start drawing some conclusions here about what these teams are. So here we go. The Yankees have staying power. They're 10 games over 500 and currently leading the deepest division in baseball. We came into the season thinking that they would fade away at some point, or maybe they just wouldn't be able to compete. I'm not so sure anymore. It's time to stop assuming that the Baby Bombers are going to fall by the wayside. Start giving them a legitimate shot at winning this division and making some noise in the playoffs, possibly. The central divisions in both the American and National Leagues are unexpectedly close. The Tribe and the Cubbies have not dominated the way that we all thought that they would, and some other teams have stepped up as well. The Minnesota Twins, the Milwaukee Brewers have certainly been pleasant surprises. But it might be time to start considering the possibility that one, possibly both, of last year's World Series participants may not win their division this summer. An idea that was it was unfathomable in March and early April. Now seems like it might be something to keep an eye on. As we talk about the Cubs' struggles, we should say that the Astros are this year's Cubs. They are this year what the Cubs were last year. They've already virtually guaranteed a spot in the postseason, and really now they can start toying with that roster, figuring out their plan of attack as they prepare for October. It's time pretty much to pencil in the Astros for postseason play. The conclusion about the NL East is that it's an embarrassment because the Nationals have their second consecutive division crown all but locked up already. They're a good team playing great ball, but the other four teams in the NL East have a combined record of 92 and 130. That's ridiculous, that's laughable, that's pitiful, and it's time to start counting the Nats down to 100 wins and the rest of the East to 90 losses. Last but most certainly not least, the Rockies and D-backs are not done yet, and the NL West is going to be the most fun division to watch this summer. The two biggest surprise contenders so far have been in the same division, out in that NL West, and it's time to start taking Colorado and Arizona seriously, and time to start staying up late to watch them. So there you have it. 5 conclusions that I've drawn as we are 1/3, just a little bit more than 1/3 of the way through the season. And really, when you think about it, this is the time to start figuring out who your team is. If they suck, then they're going to continue to suck. And if they're incredible like the Astros, they're probably going to continue to be incredible. Obviously, it's a long season and things happen. It is still a little bit early, but it's really not. We're in the meat of the season now. The middle 2 months are where the separation happens before the stretch run where basically things get crazy with all sorts of injuries and minor leaguers, and teams are already in and they know, so they're playing the game a little bit differently. Things get hectic in the last 2 months, but here in these middle 2 months that we're entering now, things get real, and the teams on top generally going to stay there. Teams on bottom generally going to stay there. We have to see how some of these divisions start to shape out. Obviously, the AL East, very close right now. Both central divisions, as I mentioned, unexpectedly close. But the NL East and the AL West are just about wrapped up. There's not going to be any movement that matters, I don't think, because the Astros just keep beating teams in their division, and none of the NL East teams are good enough to even start talking about a wild card spot. Then you go out to the NL West, and it really is going to be the most fun, I think. You're looking at a 3-team race, so long as the Rockies and D-backs can continue this great form that they've been in to start the season here, and then obviously the Dodgers, who aren't going to be going anywhere. So yeah, you take a look around baseball and look at the division races that are starting to shape up. We know what we're going to be looking at here, and we can start to focus in. That's what this is about. So take this information and start to choose a little bit more wisely maybe the games that you're watching as the season unfolds here in really what is the most important 2 months. That's going to do it for me and episode number 12 of Ducks on the Pod. Thanks so much, as always, for joining us and tuning in today. Remember to rate the show, subscribe, review, share it with your friends. Ask me for stickers. Follow us on Twitter at Ducks on the Pod, like the Facebook page. Be sure to keep an eye on those social pages this weekend as I travel to Boston. There will be a lot of updates, I promise. Some baseball, some maybe just food. I mentioned the seafood. And we don't have to limit ourselves here on Ducks on the Pod. Anyway, time for me to get out of here. Thanks again. Until next time, remember the 3 keeps of baseball. Keep your glove on the dirt, your bat off your shoulder, and always keep your eye on the ball.
Back, gone.